Thank you, Mr. Holsapple, for that excellent introduction. I'm pleased to see all of you here in this hall where I think we have an amazing confluence of minds here. And what I will be talking today is an extension of my paper in the Transhumanist Handbook, which is titled The United States Transhumanist Party and the Politics of Abundance. And that chapter takes you through year-end 2018 in terms of providing an overview of developments in transhumanist politics as well as the principles that animate transhumanist politics. Today I'll provide an update that takes us into this year and some noteworthy events that have transpired. But first let's set the context for why transhumanist politics is different. The scarcity mindset is the root problem in contemporary politics. And this mindset grows out of humankind's evolutionary origins. It's an atavistic relic of a time when our ancestors faced truly miserable conditions. They had to fight over every meager scrap of food, every second of calm times that they could get, because life truly was, according to Thomas Hobbes, nasty, brutish, and short. However, tens of thousands of years later, when we have such material abundance at our disposal, we have made tremendous strides in terms of technological progress. Unfortunately, our minds have not kept pace. We are still saddled with these evolutionary relics of the Paleolithic era. And one of these is the zero-sum mentality, the idea that in order for one individual to win, somebody else has to lose. And in fact, that's not the case. Technology enables everyone to win. Progress enables there to be a bigger pie for everyone to benefit. But in politics especially, this zero-sum mentality manifests itself because a lot of the scarcity that people perceive today is actually contrived. It's imagined. People think that some other faction, some other group of individuals is depriving them of something just by being different or believing something different, when it's not in fact the case. But you hear this all the time with the demonization of people from other countries or people with different belief systems. That is contrived scarcity. It doesn't need to be there, but human minds are flawed in that they have a tendency to embrace it. So what can help with that? Well, historically, some people have been able to step outside those mindsets by studying economics, history, moral philosophy. Those disciplines help give people a more accurate perspective of what life is really like. However, it takes time. It takes erudition to fathom those disciplines, and not everybody has the opportunity to do that or the inclination to do that. So it's always going to be an educated minority, unfortunately, that will avail itself of these kinds of tools. We may have other approaches in the near future, for instance, electoral reforms and reforms to political processes that will help us overcome that scarcity mindset. As an example, ranked preference voting as opposed to the kind of winner-take-all voting or voting for only one choice that we have today. Proportional representation as opposed to a first-past-the-post system. A hyper-pluralist system in politics instead of a two-party system. All those are ways of kind of diffusing the temptation to engage in zero-sum thinking and giving people more options to work with. And that is very much something that the Transhumanist Party advocates. In the farther off future, perhaps in a few decades, we may understand the genetic bases of these, let's say, flaws in our mindset of the zero-sum mentality, of the tribal thinking, of the tendencies toward cognitive biases and logical fallacies, and perhaps engineer them out of human beings, not through any coercion, but because people will want to get rid of this evolutionary baggage. But of course, we're not there yet. And we have to find other ways to cope as a civilization in the meantime. So the United States Transhumanist Party explicitly seeks to achieve a world where futuristic technologies of radical abundance lift these kinds of scarcity, including the scarcity of time, which afflicts all of us because we still have miserably short lifespans. And we need to advocate for policies that enable radical life extension to arrive sooner. But of course, in any human endeavor, progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. In some eras like the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, progress has been amazing and it has revolutionized the human condition. But there have been centuries of time during the late Roman Empire, during the European Dark Ages, when entire societies stagnated and declined and there was widespread misery. And that is not out of the question in our future. We need to exert active efforts to prevent this. And transhumanists can make a tremendous difference by standing for techno-positive, techno-optimistic, constructive, policy-driven politics instead of toxic, tribal, zero-sum partisanship. We need to embody our own ideals, and we seek to embody our own ideals. As the U.S. Transhumanist Party, we welcome members from all over the world, wherever they reside. If they can form an intelligent political opinion, they can join us. They can vote in our internal elections using electronic rank preference voting. We strive to pursue consensus-driven decision-making wherever possible, so we try to avoid outcomes where one side wins out through a narrow majority and maybe alienates the other 49%, because that's not constructive either. However, we recognize in this era, even we transhumanists are still all too human. We ourselves are saddled with these evolutionary flaws. We need to be vigilant about them, and sometimes imperfect and incremental steps remain our only recourse to essentially muddle through to the transhuman era. But the transhuman era may be closer at hand than some people might suspect. Indeed, in January 2019, it was a fortuitous event that the Transhumanist Party was able to integrate with a smaller political party in the United States called the Transhuman Party. Now, you could use either name to refer to us, but shortly thereafter, we launched the IAmTranshuman media campaign. You may have seen some of our images and some of our videos. Some of you have participated in our videos for the IAmTranshuman campaign, and I would encourage everyone to give it a try. Essentially, record a video of yourself talking in 1 minute or less about why you are transhuman. What is it about transhumanist philosophy or emerging technologies that makes your life different now? And what makes your life improved as a result of these emerging phenomena? And what are your aspirations for the future? We've had some really eloquent contributions, including from several people in this group. And we had our first legislative success in 2019, when in Nevada, we were faced with a bit of a challenge from Assemblyman Skip Daly, who tried to abolish most microchip implants, including voluntary implants of NFC and RFID tags. And he introduced this bill, Assembly Bill 226, which really raised some alarm within the transhumanist community. But we took action to respond. We encouraged transhumanists to post public comments in opposition to AB 226 on the Nevada legislature website. We arranged for the cyborg magician Anastasia Sin to testify in person in Las Vegas against the bill. Our legislative director, Justin Waters, wrote a letter of opposition. You can see a screen capture of it here that outlined many detailed points that were seen as persuasive by the Nevada state senators. And also, together with Anastasia Sin and with help from the Future Grind podcast, we arranged an in-person forum at the Nevada state legislature, the Cyborg and Transhumanist Forum, the first official transhumanist political event within the halls of a state legislature. And you can see here myself, Anastasia Sin, and Ryan Starr, who is an expert on NFC and RFID technologies, made our way over to the legislative building in Carson City. We had demonstrations of various technologies. We had a lot of literature, including literature on life extension, artificial intelligence, research, and we were approached by over 50 individuals, including legislators, lobbyists, staffers, who were there in the midst of their busy days at the legislature, nonetheless willing to talk about transhumanist ideas. And our reception was not hostile at all. A lot of people were curious. Some people were quite favorably inclined. A few people asked some skeptical questions, but we weren't bigoted. We weren't despised in any way. I think sometimes transhumanists overestimate the degree of public hostility or revulsion to their ideas. In fact, if our ideas are presented in a civil and constructive fashion, we can get across to a lot of individuals in the mainstream, including individuals in mainstream politics who may be open to these kinds of prospects for the future. One other recent project that I would like to highlight is the outcome of the abundance mindset in action. So abundance is the opposite of scarcity, and I say we need to reconfigure our thinking to be more embracing of the abundance that we have immediately available to us. So we recognized recently that the transhumanist movement needed new symbols, symbols to represent transhumanism in general that are not just associated with one particular organization. We have some of those, but we had a dearth of symbols that just represent transhumanism. It could be used by anyone to represent transhumanism. So the Transhumanist Party issued a call for transhumanists from all backgrounds, all affiliations, to create these symbols and make them available in the public domain or under a Creative Commons license. And we have had tens of submissions. We are having new submissions every day to this project. You can see some of these symbols here that were essentially just developed within the past week. Anyone can use them. They are available to you for your representations of transhumanism, and I think they're a great way to communicate a lot of the facets of transhumanism to the general public. You can see here the URL of the page where these symbols are available. So the mindset of abundance is not something that's relegated to a remote future. It's available to all of us today if we just change our thinking and recognize the flaws in the evolved mindsets with which many humans are saddled. Finally, I would encourage you to approach me later today with any questions you might have, and please join the Transhumanist Party. Go to transhumanist-party.org/membership, or you can go to our website and find the free membership link at the top bar. And we have a lot of these abundance-oriented collaborations. Whether or not your primary focus is politics, we have an innovative approach that really bridges the gaps between politics and the rest of life. So if your preference is to focus on aesthetics, or to focus on the science, or to focus on futurism, you can do all of that within the auspices of the Transhumanist Party. So thank you very much for your time today, and thank you very much for your interest in the Transhumanism Handbook and attending this event.